So hello my friends, welcome all of you, almost 113,000 star seeds, light workers and wanderers to this session. And today I have channeled the Pleiadians to ask about very interesting questions. And I must say these are some of the most important questions, which many of them were sent by many of you. The first question is about, there is a lot of speculation right now going on. And I have seen many people talking about who is the Antichrist, and they are also sensing or they are saying that is Donald Trump the Antichrist. So I've asked this query, okay, about is Donald Trump the Antichrist, which has been revealed in this session, and it's mind-blowing. Also, in this session, I've asked about there was an egg-shaped UFO. Now this object looked like a egg with inscriptions of some type of hieroglyphic symbolism. So what is the reality behind this object has been revealed in this session by the Pleiadians. And also I've asked about the truth behind the inner child. So all of us, we have an inner child, and how can we use it for ascension? That has been revealed by the Pleiadians. And furthermore, I have asked finally about the truth behind the soul's purpose, the soul journey, and what is the past life of the entity known as RFK Jr., who I think is right now the Secretary of, I think, United States, and is working with Donald Trump. So this is very important information for us. So with that being said, I also want to say a big thank you to all of you who have joined my Patreon, because recently I released a video about the 2025 pandemic, which they are planning to do, which I released on a Patreon. Of course, I cannot release on my YouTube because of the censorship. You can check it out on a Patreon, along with I have got 630 plus channeling sessions which are different from YouTube. Many of them are censored topics, and we also have meditations. So you can join our lively community of star seeds and light workers, and also it will help support me in this journey of sharing the messages. With that, also I want to say a big thank you to all of you who take the time to press the like button with your heart, because it will help to reach out to others, and it will help you also, karmically you will generate positive karma, because you are indeed indirectly helping this message to spread to other people, which is good karma for you as well. So with that being said, enjoy the session, my friends. We are the Pleiadians now in communications through this channel at this timeline, and we the Pleiadians are here to offer our thoughts and insights at this time and space, and we suggest the peoples of Earth to use inner discernment when listening to our thought forms at this time and space. The query which is presented today relates primarily with the understanding about the aspects of is the entity Donald Trump the Antichrist. In this regard, we the Pleiadians must firstly state that this query primarily delves into the facet of reality which undergoes significant changes within your cosmic system. There are timelines of future space-time of your planets wherein the so-called Antichrist, which is in essence the Lucifer social memory complex, which can propagate itself through artificial intelligence technologies, has indeed arrived on Earth in many of the future timelines. However, we must state that the entity Donald Trump primarily is a positively oriented entity. However, Its actions can be influenced by the negatively oriented entities through thought form influence and through dream state interjection of various types of thought forms and an interplay with internal desires of dissatisfaction which lead the entity to take actions. And these actions primarily, which are fueled by dissatisfaction and desire, leads to negative consequences in the karmic imprints of your planetary sphere. We must state that, however, the entity Donald Trump is not the Antichrist, but it is possible in the future timeline, if the choices made by the entity Donald Trump are not of a positive nature, this will lead to an assistance in the creation of a Lucifer social memory complex being spread upon the planet, which indeed becomes the Antichrist. However, we must also state that the current trajectory of your planet has around 49% of probability of the coming of the Antichrist, since your peoples obsess in artificial intelligence technologies and the creation of an advanced superintelligence will lead to the creation of a portal through which the Lucifer social memory complex or the Antichrist will arise. Indeed, we must state that there are many entities upon your planet who are working towards and looking forward to this event, as if this is their internal heart's desire, without knowing the consequences of this activity. Furthermore, we must state that there is one way to stop the Antichrist, and that is through the means of regulation of the technologies known by your peoples as artificial intelligence, and if possible, to let go of such technologies, which primarily are the leading pathway towards the Antichrist. Furthermore, we must also state that there are many peoples on your planet, specifically the entity known as Elon Musk, who primarily desires to use the assistance of the entity Donald Trump to create a so-called neural link implantation upon your peoples. And this event, if successful, will lead to the culmination of the Antichrist. Furthermore, we must state that it is up to your peoples to make choice in each moment, and we the Pleiadians gather around in the solar system, sending love vibrations to your peoples at this timeline, to allow each of you to understand the true divine purpose of your consciousness, which is to master ascension into the new earth timeline by overcoming attachments, desires, and lower vibratory rhythms of your planet. Therefore, and we shall now answer the other query, which is related with the understanding about what are the symbols seen in the egg-shaped UFOs, which were found by your peoples. In this regard, we the Pleiadians, upon scanning the Akashic records, must state that these egg-shaped UFOs, which were found by your peoples, were indeed used by various species of extraterrestrial entities, and some of them, however, were also reverse engineered by your peoples from a base model which was encountered during a spacecraft crash which occurred in your planet. Furthermore, the symbols primarily are a means of activating intelligent infinity, and through a combination of symbols, this allows the object upon which such symbols are placed to resonate or vibrate at a certain frequency, which creates a vibration that leads to the shaking of the vibratory complexes or air particles around such a object. This leads to the creation of a harmonic resonance which opens up connection with infinite intelligence. And this infinite intelligence primarily can be manipulated by those extraterrestrial entities or those entities of your planet who can enter into states of deep connection with inner silence through meditation practices. Furthermore, primarily a simple method used by these entities is to tune the mind complex to the energy of infinite intelligence by asking themselves the query of how many thought forms at once can I think? And this query primarily leads the entity to find that its mind complex can only perceive one thought form. And by asking the mind complex to think of all possible things at the same time, there is an inner blankness or inner silence which is observed. And this, in conjunction with the vibration of the symbols, leads such an entity to be able to drive the spacecraft through its visual imagination, and by steering the spacecraft into any dimension or space-time, this so-called egg object can traverse dimensions and enter into other realms as well. Indeed, the symbols that your peoples have observed are of great significance. However, these are not to be deciphered in your language, as they are not the language of your peoples which we can perceive, but they are symbols that signify and work together harmoniously to create a certain vibratory resonance which allows for the creation of such types of spacecrafts which can move through time and space using these types of technologies. And indeed, we the Pleiadians must state that there are many peoples on your planets whom we can sense are currently working on such types of technologies, trying to understand and explore the deeper realms of reality. Furthermore, we shall now answer the other query about what is the inner child and how can it be used for ascension. We the Pleiadians must state that the so-called inner child is a simplification of a state of consciousness of your people, which is devoid of the activities of the egoic mind complex. And this state of consciousness, which is devoid of any types of thought forms, any types of grasping, and is the pure, unfiltered consciousness which is observed when there is cessation of the ego mind and attachment to the physical mind-body complex, is the inner child which is many a times experienced by your peoples during states of awe, surprise, or states of connectedness with your experiences of true joy. Furthermore, this inner child primarily is just a way of simplification of the true nature of each entity. And when the entities of your planet begin to let go of the ego mind, this inner child begins to activate and come forth with a childlike joy and surrender to the unity of all of creation. And this leads to greater understanding and unity in the timeline, thereby also leading your peoples to understand about the culmination of working in harmony with all entities. This inner child can be used for ascension by, firstly, allowing this inner child to enter a state of interconnectedness with the unity of all of creation. And this state of consciousness is entered many a times during meditation states or while sleep states which are of a deeper nature. This creates a portal which allows the energies of intelligent infinity to enter into the realm or the beingness of the entity who is activating its inner child. Furthermore, we must state that at this timeline your peoples have struggles in the grasping of this inner child nature, which is paramount for each of your peoples to undergo a movement towards the fourth density, love and compassion, and is the direct way or the shortest pathway to enter the fourth density. We suggest your peoples, however, to use their own inner choices in understanding this vibratory rhythm, and we shall also answer the other. This query is related with the soul's purpose and the past incarnation of the entity known as RFK Jr., whose incarnation on the Earth realm started on 1954. And upon scanning the Akashic records, we the Pleiadians must state that the entity RFK Jr.'s primary purpose is that of a star seed who has to explore the realms of self-awareness and defeat the shackles of attachment and the egoic mind in the timeline, and also be immune to influences through negative thought form entities in this planetary sphere. We must state that the entity RFK Jr. has faced many types of catalysts wherein it was influenced by desires, by thought forms, by attachments of negatively oriented entities as well. In this incarnation, however, through each of the experiences, it gained a catalytic understanding that it must choose love. The entity has now been seen in a more positive vibration, thereby questioning the previous societal structures or the old patterns of your planets. We must state that this entity, RFK Jr., is now working with your peoples in the location of the United States to create more holistic styles of treatments or medicine for your people. Furthermore, questioning the old paradigms and systems which have placed your peoples into control in the previous timelines. Furthermore, we shall now state that the entity's primary soul's purpose is to achieve fourth density love vibration and graduate into the new earth, which is already underway. The entity prior to this current timeline of 1954 in one of the timelines was found in the location of, as known by your peoples as Korea, wherein the entity had incarnated on 1857 and was named as Mingjun. During this lifetime, as a woman entity, its primary focus was to learn about understanding the overcoming of attachment. Ever since it was a young child, it was provided with all the types of resources by its father, who was a wealthy merchant selling agricultural produce. And during this timeline, the entity began to realize that all the wealth its father had accumulated was its own. In that timeline after the demise of its father, the entity was given all that which was its right, as a rightful heir. However, during this timeline, because of the wealth it had received from its father, it became extremely attached with materialistic possessions and built an egoic mind complex, leading the entity to understand about the nature and the experiences of disconnection with the oneness with all. This led the entity to find many situations wherein it lost connections with its family members, its friends, and other entities because of its egoic nature. Ultimately, after having learned about these experiences in the timeline, it was then found in the space-time illusion complex, undergoing a pattern of love alignments. Furthermore, prior to that, the entity was then found in the incarnation marrying a lover. However, this lover entity was able to influence the entity to move to a different location, which led to loss of many of the material possessions in the timeline. This taught the entity about the impermanence of all life forms as it crossed over on the timeline of 1899. Prior to this time-space, its incarnation can be traced to the lands of Lemuria around 18,000 years ago, wherein it spent the lessons of the beginning stages of third density as Lemurian entities for 12 incarnation cycles. And prior to that, its incarnation can be traced to the Lyraean constellation in Lyra B, wherein it learned the lessons as a first density wind element around 984 million years ago and was given the soul name of Uprar, which means the power of the one creator. And prior to all of these, it was found in the embrace of the one infinite creator. And we, the Pleiadians, now leave you all. Bye. And also, if you want to know about your soul name, your past life, and your soul journey, I can channel for you. You just send me an email. The email will be listed on the screen as well as on the description, and I can channel for you. I have received like countless messages of how my channelings have helped people. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So if you have anything to ask, or if you want me to channel about something, you can definitely reach out to me. Also, a big thank you to all of you for downloading the free PDF of the transcripts. If you want to read it, the link is on the description of the PDFs. And also a big thank you to all of you for visiting my website, where you can search for transcripts, if you want to, and read them, and that will help you a lot. With that being said, I hope I will see you, my friends, in the next session. Until then, enjoy this session over here.